They mocked his simple tool. The alien crowd did, then saw the impossible. Zara watched from her observation deck as the human transport vessel approached their massive space station. The Valdorian Council had summoned representatives from Earth to demonstrate their technological capabilities, though most of her people considered it a formality. Humans were primitive compared to their advanced civilization. The sleek silver ship docked with barely a sound. Zara adjusted her bioscanner and noted the vessel's basic construction. No quantum shields, no plasma cores, just simple fusion engines and metal plating. Her fellow Valdorians murmured dismissively as they gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall. Commander Lisa Patterson stepped through the airlock first, followed by her small team. Zara studied the human woman with interest. She was shorter than most Valdorians, with brown hair pulled back simply and wearing a plain blue uniform. Nothing impressive about her appearance or equipment. The Valdorian High Chancellor Nexus rose from his crystalline throne, his purple skin gleaming under the bioluminescent lighting. Around him, hundreds of Valdorians filled the circular chamber, their advanced neural implants glowing softly as they communicated telepathically among themselves. "Welcome, humans," Nexus announced, his voice carrying easily through the vast space. "We have agreed to this demonstration as a courtesy, though we must be honest about our expectations." Zara noticed how Patterson remained calm despite the obvious condescension. The human commander stepped forward and placed a simple metallic device on the demonstration platform. It looked like nothing more than a small box with basic controls. "What is this primitive contraption?" asked Dr. Kelvin, the station's chief scientist. His multiple eyes focused on the device with barely concealed amusement. "It appears to be constructed of simple alloys and basic electronics. This is our standard emergency repair kit," Patterson replied evenly. "We call it a universal fabricator." Laughter rippled through the assembled Valdorians. Zara felt embarrassed for the human woman. Their own fabrication technology could create entire starships from raw energy. This tiny box looked like something a child might build. "And what exactly does this device fabricate?" Nexus inquired with barely hidden mockery. "Anything we need," Patterson answered. The laughter grew louder. Several Valdorians began making jokes through their neural links about human arrogance. Zara found herself feeling sorry for these visitors who clearly did not understand how far behind they were. Dr. Kelvin gestured to his assistant, who brought forward one of their own fabrication units. The device was the size of a small building, covered in glowing conduits and quantum processors. "This is real fabrication technology," he announced proudly. "It can create anything from our molecular database using pure energy conversion." "Very impressive," Patterson acknowledged genuinely. "But may I ask what happens when your power systems fail?" "Impossible," Kelvin scoffed. "Our energy sources are infinite." "Of course," Patterson nodded. "But hypothetically speaking, if power was unavailable, then fabrication would cease," Nexus admitted with irritation. "But such scenarios are irrelevant to advanced civilizations." Patterson smiled politely and activated her small device. The modest machine began humming quietly. Within moments, it produced a small metal component. Nothing spectacular, just a simple connector piece. "Fascinating," Dr. Kelvin said sarcastically. "Your device created a basic part using significant energy to produce something of minimal complexity." "Actually," Patterson corrected, "it used the dust particles in your air, some trace metals from the platform, and ambient heat from the room. No external power required." The mockery in the room faltered slightly. Zara leaned forward with sudden interest. Converting environmental materials without external energy was theoretically possible, but incredibly difficult. "Demonstrate something more complex," Nexus challenged. Patterson adjusted the controls. The device began working again, this time for several minutes. When it finished, a complete communication device sat on the platform. She picked it up and spoke into it. Her voice emerged clearly from speakers throughout the hall. "Your device interfaced with our systems," Zara called out, unable to contain her surprise. "Standard protocol," Patterson explained. "The fabricator analyzed your communication frequencies and created a compatible device." Dr. Kelvin's multiple eyes widened. "Impossible. Our systems use quantum encrypted channels with rotating cipher keys." Patterson handed him the communicator. "Your device reverse-engineered our security in real time," he whispered after examining it. The hall grew quiet. This was not primitive technology. This was something far more sophisticated than they had understood. "How does it work?" Zara demanded, moving closer to the platform. "Simple engineering," Patterson replied. "We learned long ago that the most advanced technology is often the most adaptable. This fabricator doesn't rely on massive databases or enormous power sources. It analyzes its environment and creates solutions using available materials and principles." She activated the device again. This time it produced something none of them recognized immediately. Patterson held up a small crystalline structure that began glowing with soft blue light. "What is that?" Nexus asked, his voice no longer mocking. "A power cell compatible with Valdorian technology," Patterson explained. "The fabricator studied the energy signatures in your station and created an appropriate storage device." Dr. Kelvin snatched the crystal and connected it to his scanner. "Impossible," he breathed. "This contains more stored energy than our advanced power cells. And the matrix structure is completely stable." "How?" Zara demanded. "We learned that true advancement comes not from building bigger and more complex machines, but from understanding fundamental principles so deeply that simple tools can accomplish extraordinary things," Patterson said. "Your fabrication technology is impressive, but it requires massive infrastructure and constant power. Ours works anywhere, under any conditions, with whatever materials are available." The hall erupted in excited chatter as the implications became clear. This was not primitive human technology. This was engineering philosophy so advanced that it appeared simple. You could fabricate repairs in deep space, one scientist called, out on planets without power grids, another added, using nothing but environmental materials, a third. "Realized," Patterson nodded. "We designed our technology for survival and adaptability. When you travel between stars with limited resources, you learn to make the most of very little." Zara stared at the small device with new understanding. Humans had not developed inferior technology. They had developed superior engineering constrained by necessity into the most elegant possible form. "We underestimated you," she admitted. "Most advanced civilizations do," Patterson replied kindly. "They see our simple tools and assume we are primitive. But sometimes the most sophisticated solution is the one that appears most basic." Dr. Kelvin was still examining the power cell in amazement. "The molecular structure is perfect. We could not improve upon this design with our most advanced equipment." "That's because you're trying to build complexity," Patterson explained. "We're trying to build perfection." The demonstration continued for hours as the humble fabricator produced increasingly impressive results. Medical devices, computer components, even structural materials, all created from nothing more than ambient resources and ingenious engineering. By the end, the Valdorian Council was no longer laughing. They were taking careful notes and asking detailed questions about human technology and philosophy. Zara approached Patterson as the formal session concluded. "We owe you an apology," she said sincerely. "Not necessary," Patterson replied with a smile. "We're used to being underestimated. It often works to our advantage." "Would humanity be interested in a formal technology exchange?" Zara asked hopefully. Patterson considered this carefully. "We're always willing to share knowledge with friends. But remember, our technology works because of our approach to problem solving, not just our devices. Are you prepared to think differently?" Zara looked back at the simple fabricator still sitting on the platform, then at the massive Valdorian fabrication unit that suddenly seemed wasteful and crude by comparison. "Yes," she answered. "We are ready to learn."